Welcome to Bafundi Academy once again. So we are going to continue with our previous topic, that is the Earth and the solar system. We already covered a lot in this sweet topic. So we already looked at the components of the solar system, and for this lesson we are going to discuss what we are left with, and that is the moon and the other celestial bodies that we have that also form part of the solar system. So we already know the moon is one of the celestial bodies that we have apart from the sun and the eight planets. So our celestial bodies will include the asteroids, they include the comets, meteors, meteorites, we have the comets, and we can also call the asteroids planetoids because they share a lot. They resemble planets a lot in their manner of rotation, revolution, and all that. So we will discuss this in bits, one at a time, and then we'll understand the characteristics of these celestial bodies as part of the solar system. So we'll start by the asteroids, and like we've said, they can also be called planetoid. So that is because they resemble the planets a lot, and that is why we also call them minor planets. So the asteroids are small particles, or we can say they are small rocks that have been left from our discussion of the theories that we follow on the origin of the solar system. You understand the nebula cloud theory and the passing star theory. So we say the asteroids are the remains of those particles, those rock particles or dust particles that we had left after the formation of the planets and the sun. So those are where we get our asteroids from. They are about 1500 in number, that is 1500, and we say sometimes they collide with each other, and that is due to Jupiter's gravitational pull, and this also caused them to move in orbit. So we say the asteroids are found between the two planets, Jupiter and Mars. So if you didn't know what asteroids are, that is what asteroids are. Then we have our second celestial body, that is the comets, and comets are heavenly bodies which have a head. They appear to have a head and a tail. So the heads of comets are made of particles of dust and frozen gas, and their tails are made of gases, and we say these tails point away from the sun. So those are comets. So they also move around the sun just like the planets. That is why we include them as components of the solar system. So then we have our third celestial body as also a component of the solar system, and that is meteorites. And we say meteorites are small bodies which move at a very high speed from the sky. They move at very high speed from the sky after breaking from their orbits, and then they approach the atmosphere at that high speed. So this movement, this breakage from their orbits in the solar system and movement at very high velocity into the Earth's surface is what leads us to the formation of the two other celestial bodies, and that is the meteors and meteorites. So if we discuss what the meteors is, we find that the meteors are the meteoroids which are burning after hitting the Earth's atmosphere. So due to that very high vigor of motion, we find that the meteoroids will sometimes end up exploding and burning. So the burning meteoroids are what we term as meteors. And then we have the other celestial body which is also a resultant of that, and that is the meteorites. So the meteorites are the remains of the burnt meteoroids, or the remains of the meteoroids after reaching the Earth's surface. So once they reach the Earth's surface and they get completely burnt up, we get those remains that we have are what we call the meteorites. So we say when they fall, they sink into the ground and they form craters, if you know what craters are. Once they sink into the ground, they form craters. And we also say they are very rich in iron. The meteorites are very rich in iron. Then we have our most interesting that we all know and our final component of the solar system, that is the moon. The moon is well known by all of us, but to clarify, we have it as a natural satellite. And we all know that the moon does not have its own light. The moon reflects light from the sun, and that is why it is not classified as a star from our definition of what a star is. We also have a very special term that we need to understand in discussion of the components of the solar system, that is the galaxy. And we say the galaxy is a cluster of stars. A group of stars or a collection of stars is what we term as galaxy or nebula. So then the moon, we say, we have already mentioned it received its light from the sun, and it also revolves around the earth. Of course, that is why we say it's also an heavenly body, or it's also a component of the solar system. And the orbit is almost circular. The orbit of the moon is almost in good circular motion. And then we all know that the moon revolves around the sun, and during its revolution, it leads to formation of what we call the eclipse. So in our next lesson, you should not miss, because we are going to discuss the eclipse that are formed as the moon revolves around the sun. So those and many more are the characteristics of the moon basically. So thank you for attending this lesson, and see you in the next one.